our public education system. So when people ask me, can the government actually do anything that saves money? I said, yes, we just did it 2 weeks ago with this higher education bill. It's been an incredible 9 months. We still have a lot to do.
As insensitive, Democrats as big spenders. And the fact is that the Republicans, it's a sort of cultural conditioning. They could pass a Medicare bill that added hundreds of billions of dollars to the deficit because people don't think of them as people who do that. Look, in general, Ronald Reagan, the deficit went up. It's very frustrating. We make the point, but there's this cultural conditioning that resists it. People are much readier to believe that we spend money badly than they do. They're more ready to believe bad things about them than us, too. Want to sacrifice to get those votes. Issue about, let me put it this way, one of the things that bothers me linguistically is this notion that there's some separation between being partisan, being pragmatic, and being idealistic. People say, well, that's the pragmatic view, I'm idealistic. To the extent that you are idealistic, I think you are morally obligated to be pragmatic. What good are your ideals if you don't get them implemented? They make you feel morally superior. I'll tell you, I was debating Ralph Nader on Monday over some of this stuff, and I said to him that he was once again luxuriating in the purity of his own irrelevance. And that's not something I feel I can do. At some point, the bill may not do much good, but a health care bill that significantly improves things is better. Now, part of the problem is, and this is the problem, we are talking about paying for this bill. The president said he won't put forward a health care bill that doesn't add to the deficit. Well, we put forward 2 wars that add to the deficit. Why the hell is it okay to add to the deficit for a useless war and not for health care? So I object to that. But it drives us into making some cuts in Medicare. We hope that you can make reductions in Medicare without hurting people, but I'm not sure of that. And so to some extent, when they say a robust option here, I don't like the language either. I don't know why robust means holding doctors to Medicare rates. I don't begrudge the doctors the money. By the way, one of the things I want to say about health care. We talk about how health care costs are going up. It's true they're going up. Other than communications, which are of dubious value to me, I am not one of the early adopters of things, and I don't have a Twitter machine, and I mean, Senator McCaskill is a very nice person. I don't care what she had for lunch. Nothing in my life has gone up in quality nearly as much as healthcare. The food I eat is not a lot better than the food I ate 40 years ago, the bed I sleep in, even the car I drive, not much different. But the health care I receive is qualitatively better than the health care that was a year ago. It's very personal to me. My father died at 53 years of age in 1960 of a heart condition for which there was no treatment. Now, 49 years later, I live with that same condition because it was genetic, for which I have had an operation and medication. So I've well exceeded his lifespan. And that's because of medicine. So I don't mind paying a little bit more. I want to be more efficient.
In terms of how it impacts our economic competitiveness, how it impacts our ability in a global marketplace. We need to do more of that in terms of how an educated populace affects communities and affects quality of life and so on. We don't do enough of that. I mean, there's some numbers. The average college graduate, for example, earns $1 million more over his or her lifetime than a high school graduate. That's a number. Now, that may not be the most compelling number, but it's a number. And but I do think that collectively, the higher ed community needs to recognize that in some ways, the way in which they do business is under increasing scrutiny, and they need to articulate why it is they do what they do and what the benefit of it is. privileges of U.S. citizenship as it relates to attending college. In other words, that they would, if they go to a state school, they would be eligible for Pell Grants and so on. My own view is that that's what we should be doing. My own view is that we are thwarting a great deal of aspiration, and we are also denying our country access to a great deal of talent. It is a component. The DREAM Act is a component of a larger bill, the Comprehensive Immigration Reform Bill, that was introduced, and actually considered in the 109th Congress and failed. It was introduced in the 110th Congress and went nowhere, and it's about to be introduced in the 111th. I will support it. I think that it's incredibly controversial. I mean, inspires almost as much anger as the health care bill has generated. But I think it's the right thing for us to do.
Come from the English Romantic poets and reflect also on the American Transcendental Movement, on the Emersons. Emerson, taking a page out of Shakespeare, once wrote in his essay on self-reliance, an essay I would recommend to everyone here. Above all, to thine own self be true. Every heart vibrates to that iron string, to believe that what could be true for you could be true for everyone. That is to say that in coming into alignment with the rhythms of unity, which are always there, we can find in the mass an expression of our own inner truth. And that truth is contained within us, and it's also shared with others, unspoken. It's what Jung called the collective unarticulated consciousness. We have to understand our potential. Yes.
As a fellow Ohioan, northeastern Ohioan, I was just wondering what your thoughts on the state of our state.
The state of Ohio, Buckeyes, like to see them in a Rose Bowl. Ohio's economy is in trouble. I mean, our major industries have been under attack for 20 years. Steel, automotive, aerospace, and shipping. Our economy needs a massive infusion of public works jobs. I'm hopeful the Obama administration next year will have a big public works bill to bring in here so we can put millions of Americans back to work in Ohio with benefit mightily. Ohio has seen the cost of education go up, and one of the things that I'm most concerned about is how we have a number of young Americans who will not have the opportunity to go to college or to complete their college. This economy, when it hits families, it hits everyone in the family. And if a breadwinner loses his or her job and is working to support a child in college, that college student is affected.
Obviously it's going to depend on how it's structured and what's actually in there. One thing that's interesting about the public option is it has drawn a lot of attention, and the truth is if it makes it into law, it's only going to be available to a very small percentage of people, maybe 3%, something like that. And the idea of the public option is to have basically a non-profit entity in there keeping the for-profit insurance companies accountable, to kind of level the playing field. To be honest with you, I don't know if it survives what we do on the floor or not. There are enough Democrats that are not comfortable with it that it may come out and in the end not be in the bill. But